New pedal day? Today we're checking out the EarthQuaker Devices Dirt Transmitter Rancho de la Luna. Is it the coolest fuzz pedal ever? I don't know. Let's go find out. All right, so first things first, before we dive into the pedal, the one thing that you need to know is that EarthQuaker Devices is an absolute master at creating wonderful fuzz pedals, and this one does not disappoint. So before we talk about this newest edition, which is essentially a reissue of an older pedal, let's talk about the history of the original. So the original Dirt Transmitter was one of the first pedals in EarthQuaker's lineup, and it came out around 2007. And it was sort of Jamie's focus on, Jamie Stillman, by the way, if you don't know, is the founder and president of EarthQuaker. And when he began the company, he was on this sort of journey to create the coolest fuzz face ever. I recently had an interview with him. I'll put a link here somewhere in the click pane that you can check out if you want. But we had a conversation around his journey to just create this coolest fuzz face clone and enhancement of all time. And I can honestly say this has got to be some of his best work on that path. So the original pedal came out in like 2007. They made it for several years. They discontinued it. I think they did a re-release like a year or so ago, but it was a limited quantity. And now here we are again with another release. And the things I love about this one is it's a small footprint. So the one that came out most recently was a larger pedal, takes up a little bit more real estate on the pedal board. This is your standard size pedal, and dude, it rocks. It absolutely rocks. And how it came about is that Jamie was invited by Dave Catching, who is the founder of Rancho de la Luna recording studios. He's also played with a host of kick-ass bands like Queens of the Stone Age and the Eagles of Death Metal. But he invited Jamie out to do a recording session. And during that time, they used the Dirt Transmitter on like basically everything they touched. So while they were there, they discussed this partnership and collaboration. And so they reissued this pedal with this great artwork that was done by Mike Egan, a friend of Dave Catching. And it just captures that Rancho de la Luna vibe. But the vibe it also has, and more importantly, is the Dirt Transmitter vibe. And candidly, I've never played one of the original Dirt Transmitters. I can only imagine they're awesome, but it's hard to imagine how it could be better than what this reissue is. So I'll go through some of the technical features of it here, and then we'll get quickly into the playing. But it's a very simple pedal. You've got your obligatory fuzz, volume, tone, and then down here you've got your bias. And what is bias, you might ask? Well, to get in the nerdy details, every fuzz circuit runs on transistors, and those transistors need to have an electrical operating range to perform properly. Well, guess what? When you starve them of voltage, they do really weird and sort of cool things like create gating and sputtery fuzz that kind of sounds like you're ripping Velcro off a pedal board. And that's what happens as you turn down this bias control. So all the way up on 10, the pedal is in full bias range for the transistors. When you start bringing it down, it starves them. You get this really cool sputtering stuff, and we'll get to the sound samples in a second so you can see how that sounds. So that makes this pedal really interesting. I also like the fact that the tone circuit is not like a traditional big muff or anything like that where you've got this big scoop in the mids. It's more like a tilt, right? So anything above 12 is gonna brighten things up. Anything below noon is going to roll those highs off. And I think it's adding a little bit of bass as well, especially down all the way at the bottom. I don't know, somebody fact check me in the comments, but it does seem to get a little bit fatter. But the main thing is it just controls the highs. How much brightness do you want out of the pedal? It's really welcoming because it keeps the mids in the pedal, which for a fuzz I find very important because that lets you stand out in the mix. Other interesting facts about this pedal, it uses silicon-based transistors, but there are some really unique ones that Jamie found many years ago. They're slightly lower gain than typical silicon transistors. They also are a little warmer, so they've got kind of the warmth of like a germanium, but they still have that top end bite and crunch and sizzle that everyone loves about silicon. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And I have to admit, I own like an older fuzz face from the 90s that had germanium, and I've always thought that they were great, but this is amazing. And it really goes to show that just because people kind of get on the buzzwords about germanium and those type of components, you don't have to have those to create magic. And these silicon transistors really kick ass, and we're gonna go see how that sounds. So that's pretty much it in terms of the pedal rundown. Let's get straight into some tones, and you guys tell us in the comments how you feel this pedal sounds stacked up against your favorite fuzz pedals of all time. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into some tones with the new Dirt transmitter. So first of all, I'm playing through a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. I've got it off camera over here. It's got a 12-inch Jensen Alnico speaker in it, and today I'm playing my trusty American Telly. It's got Duncan Antiquity pickups in it. So I wanted to go with single coils. I love how single coils pair with fuzz circuits like this. So the first thing I want to highlight is how incredibly dynamic this pedal is. And to do that, I'm gonna start with the fuzz as low as I possibly can get it, and the bias turned all the way up, which basically means in operating spec for the transistors. And what I want you to just notice here, and I'll even show you kind of the difference, like this is my clean tone. This is with the pedal on. So you can tell there's a little bit of hair there already, but not a lot. It's very minuscule, right? And so what I'll do is I'll play a couple licks, and I'll just show you, just using my hands and the volume control, how amazingly well you can get this pedal to clean up. That is the first thing that stood out about this pedal to me. And it's one of the things I love about fuzz faces so much, is that just whatever you're doing with your hands and your attack and the volume is going to have a dramatic impact on the way the pedal responds. I haven't found one that works this well other than like Voltec Electronics makes some amazing pedals. Like the DTF is, in my opinion, one of the most dynamic fuzz pedals of all time. This one stacks up there with it, and the price point is literally like less than half. I think this is $179 brand new, or you can borrow one from us. More on that later. But amazing value for the money in terms of like just how great of a fuzz it is. So I'll shut up. I'm going to show you just a little bit of what I mean about this sort of touch sensitivity, and I'll go back and forth here with my volume control. So that's volume on 10. I'll bring it down a little lower. Bring the volume up. Dude, and this is the kind of stuff that gives me chill bumps every time when I'm playing a great pedal like this. But it's just all dynamics, man. And I can do the same thing with my hands. Like even if I leave the volume control on 10, just playing lightly and then digging in. It's so much fun. So now let's start rolling bias control back. So I'm gonna bring it back to about noon, and you can start to hear what happens here. You're gonna hear the notes choke out. It's really gonna start to sputter and gate. So you hear it gets really crackly there at the end of some notes, like single note stuff. To get pretty loose, and if I keep going all the way down, we'll take it back to maybe like 9 o'clock here. So like almost completely get. Single line stuff with this can be kind of cool. Bringing the bias back up. So, again, bias control sort of gets you anywhere you want in terms of the feel of the fuzz, how it's going to react. What about the tone control? Well, I've had the whole thing on noon, so I'm gonna shift it up. About the most I like to get it is maybe like, I don't know, like sort of 2 o'clock here. Anything past that starts to get really bright. So we'll start out around like 2 o'clock, and I'll just do a sweep through to let you hear. Go up to about 3. Starting to get really bright, all the way up. A little bit of razor blade. Unless you want a really bright sound, let's go back down to noon as a comparison. So that's mellow. You can hear some of the low end come back. Go back to about 11.5. Starts to darken up nicely. All the way off. And here's where I feel like, and maybe it's just my ears, it seems like you get a little bit more bass when you bring it all the way back versus just it being a high roll off. So I don't know, maybe that's the way that the circuit is set up. But for me, I just kind of enjoy putting it right at noon. If I want a little bit more cut, I'll go to like 1, 2 o'clock. And if I want to sweeten it up a little bit, I'll just come back here, you know, again, around like 11 or 10. It just sounds so smooth, man. And again, for this thing to have silicon transistors, it's kind of hard to believe that they're getting this kind of warmth from those transistors, but the attack and the bite and the grind of the silicon is still there, which I think is incredibly cool. So I'll mess around on a couple more riffs, and then in a second, I'm gonna bring in a reverb pedal. I'm gonna get the Afterneath reverb pedal to kind of show you how I enjoyed using this, especially on like the super low bias settings to get that crinkly kind of sound that carries through with something like an ambient reverb. So we'll just kind of mess around here, and you guys tell us in the comments what you think about this thing, and if you would buy it or if you would borrow it. And I tell you what, for this, we've had the fuzz low pretty much the whole time. Let me bring it up to about noon. So you can hear the bias in those low settings really gets kind of Velcro-like, a lot of choking. So it's a lot of fun. I personally, gating is cool. It's fine. I can assume there would be some places I would want to use it. I prefer to use this pedal, just bias all the way up. Sounds like the best fuzz face I've ever played. I love the low gain, sort of edge of breakup, you know, do everything with your hands kind of features. That's why I started out on that setting. But it'll do everything in between. And just as far as like blistering fuzz, I mean, if you just want to take this thing all the way to the max. I mean, it'll do it all. It's a wonderful pedal, particularly if you're looking for something really dynamic. So let's flip around. I'm gonna bring in the Afterneath pedal. Let's see how they work together, and then we'll close out with some final thoughts. All right, so I've now brought in the EarthQuaker Afterneath, which is one of my favorite, just sort of big, ambient, pretty wild, spacey reverbs. And what I'm going to show you is how you can take advantage of the sputtering to kind of create some ambient pads that sit up underneath your music. And what's nice is you sort of are losing the decay or the sustain of the guitar, and that space is being filled by the reverb, which I think is really cool because they kind of complement each other and they create this really interesting effects. So before I go into the settings on the reverb, let me just show you how I have the fuzz dialed up. So first of all, I've got the bias pulled way back, so it's very sputtery. I've brought the tone control down a bit to warm it up, and I have the fuzz on, I don't know, like 2 o'clock, something like that. So this is kind of like what I'm getting. So you can hear there's a lot of like velcro there at the end. The transistors are really getting starved for voltage. A lot of sputtering, not a lot of sustain gating. Now check out what happens when I turn the Afterneath on. I've got it in the last setting. It's the pink setting or something. I don't know what they all do. This one sounds killer. Watch this. So just developing these huge like pads underneath, and I'll even take the mix up even higher here just so you can kind of really see what this is going to do. And so if you're into shoegaze or anything like that, if you're looking to create those big spacious kind of pads, I mean, this is a great way to do it. A lot of decay and a lot of fun. So again, if you're into doing stuff like this, and you can get really wild, you could even swap the order. You could take like the reverb into the fuzz. It's a really popular thing to do for shoegazers, even though it's the total opposite of what we all learned in effects chain order. It's just a ton of fun. You can hook synthesizers up to this. I wish I had time to like take this Poly D behind me and pop it through here, but there's a great video from EarthQuaker with Dave Ketching from Rancho de la Luna Studios doing just that with like an old Moog synthesizer, or maybe it was like a Kurzweil piano, but it was through the dirt transmitter. Just sounded absolutely killer. So you're not limited to guitar. You can put bass in this thing. You can put keyboards. You can run a vocal through it if you get really crazy. So ton of fun. Would love to hear what everyone thinks in the comments on this brand new pedal, well, reissue of an old pedal in brand new form from EarthQuaker. And if you don't know about us yet, check us out. We would love to get a like and a subscribe. It helps other people find this kind of content. If you don't know about us and who we are, BuyOrBorrow Music is a membership club for musicians that allows you to borrow instruments, gear, accessories, all on demand through a simple monthly subscription. So what that means is you can get your hands on stuff like the Dirt Transmitter for 25 bucks a month. We have free shipping on everything in that plan. That covers full round trip shipping to you and back to us. If you get something, you fall in love with it, you can buy it with one click. You earn rewards points every month that you can use to cash in toward discounts on the pedals. So if you've ever wanted to try stuff without throwing out all the cash and just going broke buying and selling on Reverb, might be a good solution. So we'll put a link down below. Check us out. Would love to have you come back next time. And don't forget to tell us what you think about the Dirt Transmitter. We'll see you next time.